Hello, Karen here, and welcome to the official opening of Module 1. It's so great to see so many of you here live on this call from all around the world, and thank you so much for doing everything that needed to be done for you to make it to this call. We really appreciate it, and it's so great to see you here. The focus of this module is the big picture and foundation. So we're going to look at what is dressage, what is natural horsemanship, what is dressage naturally, and how do all these things fit together. One of the most important things to keep in mind is that when we're thinking about foundation or when we focus on foundation, it's not a step back or a delay. No matter what level you're at with your horse, when you strengthen and fortify your foundation, you're strengthening and fortifying everything that you build on top of that foundation. And if we think about the object of dressage, which according to the FEI is the development of the horse into a happy athlete through harmonious education, resulting in a horse that's calm, loose, supple, and flexible, but also confident, attentive, and keen, thus achieving perfect understanding with his rider. That sounds pretty foundational. So in my mind, the qualities of dressage can be achieved early. They can be achieved in the foundation stage. And even if you think that dressage really is all about posture and biomechanics, as we'll learn, everything affects posture and biomechanics, especially mental and emotional states. For sure, I think you can agree that there's a posture for lack of understanding, and a posture associated with lack of respect, and a posture associated with fear. And those are all foundational issues. So it just makes sense that if we deal with those issues first, it's going to make it easier for us later to influence their physical bodies. Now, of course, foundation is a big subject. So only one module on foundation in this whole course is not a full course on foundation. So I had to pick out the pieces that I thought were going to be the most important. And for sure, the qualities that I thought that if you had these going really well, you're going to be able to get the most out of the rest of the information in the course. So specifically, we're going to look at the foundational qualities and the concepts of sensitization versus desensitization, the ability for the horse to maintain gait and direction and have a sense of responsibility to maintain those. We want to make sure that you have some basic independence from the reins, that you and your horse are clear on the basic yields and can do them softly, mostly from your seat. Just at a standstill is fine in the saddle and on the ground. And that you can recognize the difference between responsiveness and reactiveness. And that's just my little illustration of cornerstones of foundation. This is a little thing I drew up that also kind of gives you a little bit of a feel for the context and how I look at how dressage and natural horsemanship fit together, or just dressage and maybe life. So it's my training scale, and you'll have a copy of this as one of the handouts in this module. So the one on the left is more of a picture of what I thought about when I thought about my whole horse experience, which is my base I saw was dressage. And on top of that base, I learned techniques about how to communicate with my horse to achieve some harmony, and eventually I'd be happy in those golden moments when I get everything right. And now I realized that my foundation of my life with my horses is built on being happy. And when I'm happy and my horse is happy, we can have harmony. And if we're in harmony together, we are able to communicate. And when I can communicate with my horse, I can do some techniques and then do some dressage. And I really feel like that is a much healthier and truer um, illustration of what I want my life and my life with my horses and my horse's life to be like. Really, dressage is a small part of what we're going to be doing. Most of the time, my horse is not doing dressage. Most of the time, I'm grooming them or walking them to and from or doing other things. But when I do dressage, I want to do it full on and I want it to be excellent. But it sort of makes sense that you have to have bigger techniques, even bigger communication, even bigger harmony, and you have to start with a base of happiness. Or at least, lack of fear. So that kind of makes sense, right? The more happy and relaxed and calm and comfortable and trusting we are with each other, between ourselves and our horses, the better everything is going to go. So that's the dressage naturally picture of foundation. I feel like I'm talking really fast. I'm going to try to slow down. I'm all excited. In general, in this course, and since this is the first module where we really start digging in and doing some things, as we start to move through the material, everyone in this course is coming from a different starting point. So although I'm sure that the order that I presented the information is the best way to make the most progress, and that it makes the most logical sense, but the reality is that sometimes it won't be in the just right order for you guys. So sometimes you won't make progress in one area until you move on to the next. And that's actually, I think, a very fascinating part of horsemanship. So I hope you'll find that fascinating too. And just know that, once you open it, stick with one module and then play through it. Again, do your best, and you can always go back and revisit it. And sometimes it's in the revisiting that you will really get the result. Now, another thing you'll have to think about when you're moving through this course is whether you're going to do only the exercises I outline in a particular module, or if you continue to play at whatever level you already are, even if it's advanced, but do the material in the module sort of looking at your horse through the lens of the subject of the module. And I hope that made sense. So you can either say, all right, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm only going to do what's in this module. Or you can continue to do all the different things that you do with your horse. But in everything, you're going to look at it and go, well, how's the foundation part of this? How's the sensitization, desensitization? How is my horse following my focus in this moment? And I'm not going to say that there's a right way or a wrong way, but I think it's really important to know that there's a choice. So you're either choosing to do it one way or the other. And what's nice about knowing that there's a choice is that if it is working for you, keep doing it. But if it's not, then you can change it. So I love knowing when I have options. So in this module, for example, you could take all the qualities that I highlighted, sensitization, maintain gait and direction, reactive versus responsive, the basic yields, and you could go really deep into those and challenge yourself further than you normally do, up your standard, and spend the whole week just focusing on only that in as many different circumstances as possible until you really feel like you've got all those things anytime, anywhere, at a better level than you ever had. But you could also, I could imagine that if, say, you have a more advanced horse and you're working on even, collection and upper level dressage, you could continue to do those sessions, but have the qualities that I'm listing in this module really in the front of your awareness. So I don't know, in the United States, we have a saying that you can look at the world through rose-colored glasses. Meaning if you have your rose-colored glasses on, everything you see is rosy and nice. So this would be like looking at everything you do through your foundation-colored glasses. So you could see and notice how the foundational qualities play into the more advanced exercises that you do. And how they relate to the things that your horse does well and the things your horse has difficulty with. So if you're having difficulty with a movement, see if you can train your brain to go, well, is there a foundational piece to this? Or any of those things that Karen talked about in Module 1, can I find an issue there? And if there's things that you and your horse do really well, again, look at it from that perspective and go, well, what is working? Are these, how are these foundational pieces working? And I think it'll be really interesting to hear what you guys find out with that. But I'm willing to bet that the things that are going well in the advanced exercises also have those foundational parts working really well as their base. So anytime that I find that I can trace an issue that I'm having with my horse back to a foundational issue, it's like a gift, because then I can go back. I've probably worked on it before, so I have the strategy for it, and I just need to do it again and make it more important. It's easy for some foundational things to get kind of lost when we start moving into more complicated maneuvers. Also, in this module, in the DVD, I'm going to share, oh wait, let me see what else I put here. All right, so there's a picture of foundation for you. So I think it's important. Number one part of foundation is that we're comfortable and relaxed together, and that's a ovation in the background, but there's Atomic and me and Sydney, and someone had asked me if that was a turtle, but it's actually my helmet sitting there. So we're looking pretty relaxed and comfortable together. In our foundation, we want to have horses that are happy and expressive, and hopefully we are feeling happy and expressive too. There's Natia's little smile. And that we're building horses that are confident and trusting. That picture of ovation, it was really hot, so I thought, well, I can bring some shade with me. So I wanted to, let me see, I'm going to talk in the DVD a little bit about, let me just go forward for a second. I'll talk a little bit more about my two horses, Vivaldi, otherwise known as Bubba, and my horse Brave Tom. So I thought it would be fun to just give you, I've shown some pictures of them before, but there's my boy Bubba when he was competing. And there he is in his older years, and I love this picture at the bottom. Any of you guys who have the Results in Harmony DVD number 3, where we do position exercises in the saddle for rider position, and what you couldn't see off screen was Bubba came in and just laid down, and we kept filming, and we were able just to keep him out of frame, but I think that's so cute. It's a little hard on us, but so that's the behind the scenes of the filming of DVD number 3. And here's the pictures of Brave Tom again. So upper left is the beginning. There he is at the height of his competition. And that lower one, I'm not sure if I've shown that one to you guys before, but that's, he's 29 years old. So I just think it's really interesting to look at his body. He looks better at 29 than he did at 7. So I never get tired of looking at those. Let me go to this. Thinking again about foundation, here's Natia in one of her first rides in the arena out of the round pen when I started her, and here's just fairly recently. I guess this looks like it must have been over the winter because there's no leaves on pecan trees. So a year and a half, maybe difference between those two pictures. And here's Solana. These pictures are just 6 months apart. Guess how much time you guys have access to the virtual arena? 6 months. And in those 6 months, it's mostly foundation. So the picture above is actually Justina, and I don't have my little thing up, so I can't see if she's here, but this is Justina, who's one of our coaches for this classroom. And I had started Solana and been doing just foundation, and I thought it was a really good time for her to feel other riders and just kind of go out and about and be a good little comfortable transportation, good partner. So this is an image from there. And between there and this was very recent, just the other day on Solana, still 90% focus on foundation and the very first steps of finding the sweet spot. That's it. So that's pretty impressive, I think. So that's to give you some hope. So a lot of, some of these changes take years and lots of time, but some of the changes can happen super fast. All right. Something else that I will mention in the DVD when I'm talking is about foundation and something I call fancy foundation. So fancy foundation is, I think, how I describe it is like more than you need to have a horse that feels safe, comfortable, and confident in our world. So fancy foundation is sort of bonus points or extra credit. Foundation is, for example, when your horse just walks easily on a horse trailer. Fancy foundation is if you can send your horse into the trailer from 45 feet away while sitting down. Foundation is you can ride with a loop in your rein and your horse maintains gait and direction. Fancy foundation is you can ride bridleless and blindfolded and your horse makes perfect circles. So for this course, you don't need fancy foundation, although I do encourage you to be as fancy as you would like to be. But for this course, I did my best to give you material that I know everyone can utilize and gain from, even without having to be fancy. And the theme is to make the most important concepts as clear and simple as possible. And again, practicing the art of making good enough easy. So if you want fancy foundation, so here's a picture of on the right, and we'd say Monty's doing some fancy foundation, right? He's bridleless, but he's also aligned on a circle in the sweet spot and let loose, and I'm, doing as close to nothing as possible and checking out what the neighbors are doing. How do you get that? It starts on the left. You start with good foundation and just making sure you can, in foundational moments, start to do things that are a little fancy, Instead of just a loop in the rein, can I sit there with nothing on her? Can I sit there bareback? So that would be fancy foundation. And if you can do that, and then you also study what we're going to do in this course, it kind of makes sense that you, at some point, could end up doing pretty fancy stuff. But I tend to separate it out and not necessarily teach everybody how to do all of this stuff bridleless right away, because that's sort of double hard. It's all hard enough. But you can practice them separately. Whatever we want to combine, practice them separately until they naturally combine. So you can practice things going deeper into your foundation specialization and take that further and further, which we won't necessarily cover in this course, and learn about the biomechanics and the sweet spot and the balance and the let loose. And if you know how to do both of those, you will know how to do it fancy. So I hope that makes sense. All right. What else did I put down on this thing? Oh, okay. That's it. That's all you get. Well, let's do this. All right. So I wanted to talk just briefly about the few qualities that we're going to really go into in this course, and then take your questions and see what's going on with you guys. So sensitization and desensitization, the biggest point of that is your horse knowing what is meaningless and what is meaningful. What movements do you do are they supposed to respond to, and what movements are you doing that don't mean anything? And it's also a little bit about telling your horse that they're okay. So I kind of use things that look like desensitization for two purposes. One can mean, hey, this doesn't mean anything, ignore this. But then there's also techniques that are going to tell the horse, hey, relax, we're good, don't worry about it. And they're very close. And probably most of the time when I think desensitizing, I'm actually thinking in my mind, hey horse, you're okay. You're okay, don't worry about it. So we'll look at that, and I'll show plenty of that on the DVD, but it's all connected to your intention and your body language. And one of the first things we need to do is match that up and make sure that you know in your mind, what am I doing in my body to show the horse and send the energy and give them this direction? And what am I doing in my body to let them know that they don't have to do anything? And I think so many problems can be traced to this one thing, that horses are looking at us going, am I supposed to do something? So that's why that's top of the list. Carlos is bringing me a toy to play with. I think he's jealous. Maintaining gait and direction. On the most basic level, you want to make sure your horse can follow your focus and that you're not preoccupied with having to keep them on that line of travel. So this one definitely is really important because it gets in the way. If you're constantly trying to keep them back on the circle or get them on the rail, or they're wandering around, or you change one thing and they shoot off in a different direction or stop or take off, if there's a problem there, it kind of stops you in your tracks because you're going to have to address it. So I would get really creative in finding all kinds of ways and circumstances to make really good progress with this. Find the easiest circumstance to get really good at it, whether it's inside a round pen, outside a round pen, along a rail, put up barrels every 5 feet if you have to put up barrels to help your horse get the clue of like, look, it's here and I really mean it. And the other piece of this from a foundational point of view is that it's not about, can you as a rider hold your horse on the line of direction or hold them in that gait, but it's about, can they hook onto it and realize that it's their job, it's their responsibility to follow your focus. So make sure that your focus is clear and that you give them that little timing of being able to be allowed to do what they want. And if they go off course, you correct and put them back on course again. And definitely use obstacles. Use solid things they can see, whether that's a railing, a trail on the ground, barrels, cones, poles on the ground. But do what you need to do to get the feeling that your horse hooks onto it. All right. Independence from the reins. And again, it doesn't mean that you guys all have to be bridleless. If you do bridleless, that's awesome. But it just means that you know that you're not using the reins for more than you need. And we'll talk a lot about the reins in a later module, but for right now, check that you can put your knuckles down on the neck and put a loop in the reins and see what happens. You'll get more of the truth. Look at the situations where you don't feel comfortable letting go of the reins and see if you can figure out what's going on there. If you're not comfortable dropping the reins in a field, go in an arena. If you're not comfortable in the arena, go in the round pen. Try to find the circumstance that makes you feel like you can be independent from the reins. And if you need them, you can always pick them up. They can still be there. But you want to really look at that and ask yourself, what would happen if I drop the reins? Do you feel like you're going to lose your balance? Do you feel like your horse is going to run back to the barn? Do you feel like he's going to not maintain direction? Do you not trust that you can stop him? So if stuff like that comes up, this is the time to really look at it and go, all right, well, if I feel like if I let go of the reins and my horse is going to take off and I'm not going to be able to stop, then you're going to have to get really good at one rein stops, using the wall to help you stop, anything you can think of that's going to help you feel like you can trust them to not use the reins. So I hope that makes sense. Independence from the reins, you could have a double bridle on and be independent from the reins. So again, I don't want you guys all ripping your bridles off and going bridleless and then crashing and burning. You can be riding with the bridle, with the halter, with reins, and still be independent from the reins. But I would say to test it out, make sure you're testing it enough that you really know for sure whether you're independent from the reins or not at your own level. basic yields. The basic yields, this is the time to really step back and, again, do it in the easiest circumstances, from standing still, on the ground, on their backs. Make sure that you can isolate hindquarters, forequarters, anytime, anywhere, backups, all those basic things that you take the time to really look at your position, that they get a chance to feel it coming from your body. Then you support with your leg or the stick if you need to. And just, these can always get better. These sorts of yields are going to get lost in the movement, and some of the exercises in the next couple modules, well, not the next one so much, but in module 3, there's a big risk that we start to desensitize these because we do them in motion and we kind of do them in flow and we're doing them closer together. So you want to make sure that they are isolated and really stand out clearly. Your horse sees them coming a mile away and they're willing to put a big effort in, so that later we have those sensitized so that we can put them in flow with each other. And responsiveness versus reactiveness, and that's really looking at the mental, emotional state of your horse and seeing when you have calm understanding with them applying effort versus reaction where they're flinching or moving out of fear. And that's where you really have to know your horse. Some of the really calm ones, the real couch potato ones, the super left brain ones, sometimes you actually have to get on the edge of reactive just to kind of wake them up, snap out of it. So don't be afraid to go there, to go, hey, something's happening here. But then you want to make sure you return them to calmness and don't live in reactiveness. And some of the super reactive ones and super agile and athletic ones, sometimes they'll do really fancy things and you think, wow, they're just really listening to my yields, but you realize that they're moving a little bit out of fear. So on the DVD part, or the video part of this module, I'll show some with ovation and some with atomic and their different expressions, so hopefully we can start to see that. So just notice. And when you're training, again, don't be afraid of reactiveness. Sometimes we just have to touch on it. It's the ability to return to calmness so that then later when we ask, we are able to get responsiveness. But don't fall into a trap of being afraid to have any kind of emotional reaction, and then some of the horses, will just fall asleep. All right. And these qualities, even these basic things, have to be nurtured every single day, I find, anyway. And maybe that's because I go on and I do more complicated things and I don't just focus on foundation specialty. I use my foundation. I build something on top of it. And like I said before, the risk of putting something on foundation is these very isolated, standalone kind of concepts can get lost in the shuffle. They can get desensitized. They can go out of our awareness. And pretty soon we're struggling again and we go, wait a minute, how come I'm working so hard just to get this little sideways thing? And that's when you have to stop and go back and go, let's just check the basic parts. And the basic parts are the things I talked about. So I feel like if you guys can get super good at those things and have them really in the front of your mind, everything else in the course is going to go better. All right. Now I'm going to look through, is there any questions? Anything going on here? Oh, yeah, sorry. I see Dana's note that whenever I say DVD, I mean video. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, yeah. There's plenty of exercises in this. So, for example, where did it go? Oh. Woo, that comes out big. So, in this foundational skills worksheet, so, I want you to, in the video, when you can see the video, I'll show you a bunch of things, and here's some things you can work on. So this is sort of a little checklist, and it'll say, what things you can do. Can you do this? And then you can rate yourself as far as how you're doing. And this is just, you don't have to hand this in or anything. This is just for you. But this is the focus I want you to have, and to see how many different circumstances you can come up with to copy the things that I did in the video and then assess these skills in yourself. Okay, so Carolyn had a question about stretching, and she just says her horse can stretch and let loose at the walk, but as soon as we trot, we get bracey. Yeah, that we will cover a little bit later. But again, so like I said, no matter where you are already in your process, see if you can go back and look at the foundation and take it to another level. All right, all right, we have a question. My horse has very bad, and by that I mean very bad, concentration. Are there specific exercises for me to do? Yeah, when I feel like a horse isn't paying attention to me, there's a couple ways you can address it. Sometimes horses are so distracted that you can't even begin to have a conversation with them. And that'll often happen, like I'll see that a lot at first day of the clinic or something like that. And with a horse like that, I'll tend to use obstacles and use, sometimes I do what I call a clutter circle. I'll put barrels and poles and things that are safe, but things that they have to negotiate. And in order to find the smoothest way through it, they need to look where they're going and focus on the moment here and now. So with horses that really are not paying attention and they're very distracted by external things, I'll try to use obstacles that cause them to think about where their feet are right here underneath them, in ways that I don't have to talk to them so much. I can just send them out and walk around, and if they don't notice I've changed direction, they'll hit the line and then they come the other way. So I don't even try to talk to them in that moment. But I put them in circumstances where they're caused to need to see me and be aware of me and be aware of things. Putting their feet, like in this, putting their foot in a bucket or on a pedestal or something like that, something where it brings their focus to the here and now. But then some horses are focused enough that they're kind of left brain and they're ready to think about you. And that's where making sure your conversations are particular enough and are interesting enough that you become attention worthy, and that you bring them to a level where they get to be successful. So a lot of times horses lose concentration because you're either not being clear or you're not getting them all the way to the part where they really applied themselves. And they know when they're not really applying themselves. So for example, you ask them to do something and then they kind of do it, and then you kind of say, well, that was sort of good. And they're like, well, that's not enough information. So sometimes upping your standard and sticking to something until you really make the clear progress where they get the big release, and now all of a sudden you've become very interesting to them and very attention worthy. So you have to first assess, is my horse ready to be talked to at all? Are they, or are they completely freaking out and not ready to have a conversation? But if they are ready to have a conversation, this is the exact module where you're going to take these very basic things and get them really good, and really look at your communication. And if you looked at their hindquarters and asked them to move and sent the energy to them and they didn't move, you're going to follow through until you get to the point where they did it, and then you do it again until they can do it without you needing to support or follow through. And then they get to feel successful, and they feel like it is in their benefit to watch you because you gave them an intention and a signal and sent them energy first. And if they didn't move, then they got a touch. but they'll know that if they watch you, they get to be successful without needing the touch. So I hope that makes sense. So you can become attention worthy. And starting now is when we're going to really put a huge focus on the quality of the communication that you have with your horse. So I hope that helps, Hetty. And then Fran's asking, would you do the same for a very spooky horse? Goes along and then suddenly shies at things. Yeah, horses like Atomic are tricky. The endless thing. But with Atomic, for sure, using obstacles was a really big part of making progress with him, especially in the beginning, because he just was so dominant and spooky that he was spooky and dominant and aloof. So, he was fine, and then if he got scared, it was like every man for himself, and he not only didn't want to listen to me, but he wanted me to get out of the way so he could get out of there. So that's a really tricky situation, and the more I used obstacles so he could solve the problems himself and not need me, the quicker he responded to that. And also that one technique I'll use in clinics, like if I don't have obstacles, is I put them out at the end of the line, and my goal is just to walk around wherever I want to walk around, and I'm going to change directions whenever I want, and I can even walk right through them, kind of like I'm blind and I don't even see them there. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that the more scattered my horse is and the more he's not paying attention to me, the more frequent changes of direction and turns that I do, and the more I happen to do those things near fence lines or walls or something like that. So if he runs off, he's going to run himself into the wall, and then I'm going the other way. So he's like, whoa, I got to go. She's going that way. And I just keep doing that, where if he's focused and relaxed, I just walk calmly, and he can just make nice, big, smooth circles and a lot of freedom and space. But if he starts getting distracted, I immediately start getting busy and turning around and causing him to go, whoa, I got to pay attention here. So again, it's a way to get their attention without having to talk to them in a moment where they're not able to talk to you. Okay, so I hope that, Fran, makes sense. Oh, good. Hetty says that makes sense. Yay. Yeah, and with the spooking also, there's so many different layers to that. The biggest question with spooking is, do you let them go up to the thing they're spooking at so they can see it and be reassured that it's all okay? Or do you avoid it and say, hey, I hear you, you're scared to be there, so I'm not going to push you there? Or do you say, you know what, if you didn't look at it and you listen to me, I will prove to you that you can go right past it and it's not going to get you. So those are three different choices, right? So there's one of going, hey, let's go take a look at that and put your nose on it, and then it's over with. And with a lot of horses, that's it. As soon as they put their nose on it, they're like, oh, it's just that. And then they're fine. With other horses, that would even be too scary for them. And you have to kind of, approach retreat, and after a few times around, their curiosity gets them and they realize you're not going to push them. So they move closer and closer, and then you can build it that way. And some horses, you just need to be the leader and go, look, stick with me. I've got your hand. We're going here. And in doing that, you become a powerful leader. And when they pass by the scary thing, they realize that it didn't get them. And now that builds your leadership and trust in them even more. The trick is figuring out which one for which horse. But again, I think that's the question every trainer is going to ask. So don't feel bad if you don't know the answer. What I like to do is go, okay, here's this thing happening. I have three choices. I'm going to think about it, do one of them, and do it all the way. Like, really do it. Make sure you do it. If you find you can't do it, that might be a time to switch and try something else. Or if you do it and it doesn't make it any better, say you do say, no, we're going to go past that thing, and you do it, and now your horse is more scared like, okay, well, I did it. That wasn't really valuable for this horse. Let me try something else. Okay, that help, Fran? Okay. I've used all three with success, so that point is important. Try all three. Yeah, and sometimes it's different days, and sometimes it's different. Um, I'll have one focus at one stage, and then we progress and we grow together as partners, and then all of a sudden it's like, that system used to work, and now it doesn't anymore. So at this stage, this year it's a different focus, or this month. Yeah, and the reality is with some horses it's really deep. Like with Atomic, it's really deep, and I am still, taking care of that. So, all right. Any other questions that we need before we dive into this? So we've got these videos and the audio that I promise work once we get you all sorted out. There's some handouts, training scale, there's an excerpt from the book, and then there's the worksheet. And just, again, take the time to go through those worksheets and go as deep as possible. This additional material, that's just kind of a funny little thing. Oh yeah, the exam. You're probably, if you've looked at it at all, you will realize that my exams are not meant to really create test anxiety. They're meant to be fun and give you maybe a fun way of remembering some of these things. And again, it's just for you, but if we make it memorable, we make it fun, it'll stick. Oh, and this intention tracker, you guys maybe have seen this. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's another email in your inbox, but you can set your weekly intentions by clicking on this one, and then at the end of the week, you can go in and kind of see how you did. Like, I have not gone in at the end of this week, so I set 5 intentions, and apparently I've done 0 of them, but when I go in and click on mine, I can, let's click here and see what happens. I should be able to say what I did. Yeah, so I have my weekly intentions for my horses, and I'm gonna, well, I'll do this, but I'm sure I'm doing all of them, right? So I wrote for mine that I'll take a moment to visualize before I start with each horse. Another intention that I had for this week is that I'll think of 3 positive things that happened in each session afterwards. I should do that already. I had a difficult session with Mattia today, of all horses. So after I get off this call with you guys, I'm going to sit down and write the 3 positive things that happened. Another intention I have is I'll think of 3 things that I learned from each session and that I'll do differently next time. Intention 4 is I will remember to stop and dwell more. I did that really well today. And that I'll remember to be firm and fair in my leadership. Sometimes I'm a little pushover. Okay, so when you fill that in and then you update it, and then it's just, again, it's for you. Okay. Francis, I have hope. Okay, Miguel, I found that using your, Miguel was commenting on Atomic, and he said, I found that using the Karen TV 24/7, all Karen all the time, is one of the videos that really helped with his horse, yeah. And I don't know if you guys know, like in the, when you're doing the chat, you can choose whether to show it just, your chat just to me, just to the organizers, or to everybody. So anything you do is fine. Just know that you have a choice. It's all about options. Yeah, with some horses, I find I just have to be on. And that's very, like Miguel, that's very not my personality to be, it's all about me all the time. I'll tend to very easily harmonize with the horse. Like, that's my nature, is to go there. Dina's probably laughing. No, I'm different with people. But, I'll tend to go to where the horse is. And time again, which is why my weekly intention number 5, I will be firm and fair in my leadership. That I have to keep reminding myself. It's like, hey, it's all about me. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, we spent another hour on the call, so I hope we get everybody seeing the videos. And as you go through this week, let's use the use that Facebook community page. I really love that that whatever tool, that place that we can go and just throw things down. What would be really cool, I think, is if you are working on something and something pops in your mind of like, oh, I just figured this out. Throw it down there. Remember, it's just us in the group that are there, and I think everybody can learn from everybody. Or if you have a question like, oh, I'm having trouble with this part. Anybody else have tips on, whatever it is? And between me and all the coaches in there, I think we can get a lot of support and help. Anybody else? Let me see. I just wanted to see Shelby. I'm going to unmute you for a second. Shelby, are you there?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, Shelby. We weren't able to talk to you last time, so Shelby's another one of our coaches in the classroom, and by the next module we'll be set up so you guys can get extra help from those guys if you'd like. But for now, they're going through the course with you all. So, yay, Shelby!
I believe I did it.
Yeah. Yep. There's some probably many of us on here have technology anxiety. So Shelby, I'm proud of you. You got up here. It actually works pretty well. Let's see if all right. Okay. I will unmute you, and maybe I'll mute you again, Shelby, and then let's see if we have Lisbeth is here. Lisbeth, I'm unmuting you, another one of our coaches from the Netherlands. Hello.
Hi, Karen.
Lisbeth is.
I can actually hear myself, which is good because I'm trying the iPhone app and it seems to work pretty well.
Oh, good. Yeah, Lisbeth is one of our technologically advanced people. She's awesome. So, so maybe for any tech questions.
That's the first time someone ever said that about me.
Well, you're probably like me. You're learning a whole bunch of things you never intended to learn, but you seem to be able to get stuff done there. So awesome. So I'm gonna mute you again, and let's see who else I can find in here. Let's see. I saw Eva here somewhere. Or did she have to leave? Oh, there's Eva. Let's see if this. Oh, she's on the phone, so I don't know if that's going to work. She's on her phone, and there was just a funny little message that went through. So anyway, we might not be able to say hi to her, but all right, guys. Oh, she's saying hi down there. I think that's it. Everybody. Oh, Justina is here. Hang on. Unmute Justina. Hello, Justina from Poland.
Hello, Karen. Hi, everyone.
Hello. I'm good. Did you notice that picture of Solana that I had up before? Were you on at that point?
Yes, I noticed. She looks gorgeous.
Yeah, you have to come back and ride her again.
For sure.
All right, well, thank you for making the call, too. All right. I'm going to mute you. All right, guys, well, I think our time is up, and I'm really curious to see how you guys do in here. Definitely let me know how it's going. I'll see you on Facebook, and maybe Dana, can we do a group unmute, and everybody can say goodbye again.
In just a moment, I had a few things. Let's see. Just remember to email us if you're still having issues. Somebody said that Chrome is working well, but let us know. We just like to make sure all the technical stuff's working. Anytime you're having technical issues, just please let us know. And then I know some of you guys are just kind of listening for now, but feel free to join in the chat, and you can send us private stuff or public, but it's just kind of if something comes up and you just have kind of a question, I sit here and monitor that while Karen's talking, so I'm kind of keep track of that and everything. So just keep that in mind. It's not required, but just feel free to do that.
Yeah, and Dana, like when we do next week's call, you'll have been working on this one, so I'll talk a little bit about the new module, and then we can take questions from how your week went in this past module. So I'll be talking less and less, and you guys are going to be
asking more and more, and well, I'll still be talking. But you can ask questions next week about this week's material.
I think chat is more effective than on the mic. It may, yes, and we had a little comment that somebody likes to chat more than the microphone, but everybody has their own way of enjoying this. Karen, what is our week's intention besides all the stuff that's in the arena? What's our, we've kind of set our week intention, but what, just in 5 words.
Foundation, 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 foundation.
That's only 4. Okay.
Foundation.
All right, we will turn on everybody right here in a second.
Oh, wait. One more thing. I mentioned last time about the leg up. If anybody here gets really lost, email us and say you want a leg up. And, those are going to be things that we can highlight on these calls. If there's something we want to go into a little more detailed and really have a good talk about it, we can do that. So if any of you guys are like, I'm really desperate, or I really want to work through this, or email it to me and I'll see if it's something that we can do in a leg up. So I don't want anybody to feel lost. We're all in here together to support each other. So make sure you reach out whenever you need to. Okay, I'm done talking.
All right, here we go. All right, is everybody ready? Hang on. Here we go. All
right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Karen.
Bye.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks for
I
today.
still can't remember.